Dearly beloved, I love these types of episodes where I get to bring on a special guest who is going to inspire you, educate you. And today we're going to be talking about business without social media. And instead of the usual conversation, which is me sharing with you the 19 relationships-based marketing strategies that I have figured out over the last 8 years to grow Magic Media, Magic Kids, Play Chi Ball, and all the businesses of our clients that we work with without needing to ever log on to a social media account, I have a special guest today, Stephen Warley, who is from Life Skills Matter. And Stephen is a solopreneur business coach on a mission to help you create work that works for you in alignment with your values, needs, and abilities. He also believes you can build your business without social media, just like me. And so today's going to be a conversation around that, around building community, around how Stephen got off social media, why Stephen got off social media, and what has Stephen done to grow your business, Stephen. So, Stephen, welcome to the party. Nice to
Thank
connect.
you.
Yeah.
It is. It's always so fun to talk to somebody. Sometimes, I love challenging conversations, but sometimes it's also really fun to talk to somebody who is passionate about something as you are, and not everybody else thinks it's okay. Like you can really build a business without social media, or your whole social life will not fall apart
Yeah.
without, if you leave social media.
In fact, it might even get better, which
It
it
might get better. But the funny thing is now I feel like I'm old, I'm aging myself, but I remember the world without social media, right? I'm so glad that I had that gift in life. Number two, people used to pay me a lot of money to teach them how to get onto social media. I have to be really honest and clear about this. And somewhere along, and also, but even while I was teaching people how to get on social media, I ran a sales training business online, offline for the broadcast industry in the United States. And I did not use social media to build it. I was on LinkedIn super early on like the 150,000th user on LinkedIn. I was on Gmail when they were just doing invites. I was on Jaku, which was the precursor to Twitter. So I was super excited about all this stuff when it came out. But then somewhere along the way, it started to not be so helpful.
yeah.
So before I share how it started not to be helpful, how did you start to know like I need to break up with social media? What were some of the ingredients for you?
I felt like my brain had been hacked and that my thoughts were no longer my thoughts and that when I mean I had a lot of experience, but there was one experience in particular where after my son was born and I was up on a mountain watching the sunset and we were in this like epic new phase with the part of my business I was growing at the time and life was really good and watching the sunset and all of a sudden I caught myself thinking in Facebook speak about the post I was going to post later about the moment I was in, and therefore I left the moment. And I realized that I no longer owned this moment. It was Mark Zuckerberg's moment. And that was the final straw for me. I literally deleted my accounts the next day, cold turkey, left
Like everything?
everything.
I'm still on LinkedIn, everybody. I admit it, but I don't use it that much.
Yeah.
I use it as a research tool. It's not as social media. So we could talk about that as part
Yeah.
of the outreach later on. But I,
What
I
about
love
you?
that
What
you're, I
was your
mean,
moment?
well, sometimes you have a big life crisis and that throws everything up in the air. Like I always
Yeah.
tell people, I've interviewed over 500 people who want to start a business and why they did it and how they got unstuck and created their own, worked on their terms. And the majority of the time, people start a business out of a crisis. Healthcare, economic, lost your job, you're laying around and sick in bed, or positive, you had a baby for the first time. Believe it or not, a lot of people start a business when they had a baby for the first time because they really want to reorganize their life because they want to spend more time with their kid. So I got divorced, and me being me, I always like to like evaluate everything going on of like what happened here, where am I? I'm in this little chasm in between the post chapter and the next chapter of my life.
Yeah.
And I just don't like being manipulated. I just don't like it. Nobody does, but yet so many of us allow it to happen anyway. And it is getting harder and harder to defend. I mean, that's what I started to go on a journey of educating how this stuff is getting into our heads. So 2019, I had not been using Facebook for many years, but still had an account. But 2019, I finally deleted it. When Elon Musk purchased Twitter, I was on Twitter like since 2005 or the year after it launched. I can't remember a year. I deleted it. Um, I was never into Instagram because it was just so I'm a minimalist and I am not a materialist, so that seems it's so egocentric for me. Um, I did not get on TikTok. YouTube, I was not active on, but I view that still kind of as a video publishing platform, not necessarily social media.
Same.
Although
Yeah.
all the algorithms are
Entertainment,
still.
education, not necessarily social.
Yeah, and I think now so much as now it's like shame on all of us if you don't know that this is manipulating you and the social because I don't know about you, I always hear I never also anybody listening to you have to decide what you want to do what works for you, but a common refrain I hear when they hear somebody like my story is like I'm off all social media, or they hear from Bradley I'm off all social media, and then people are like, well, I can't because I do like it for this little group of people that I keep in touch with, this group of people. I don't know if you hear that as kind of the first objection. And I say like, well, guess what? I have another group of friends who know that I'm on social media. So they ended up starting a whole text thread, almost
Mhm.
kind of like, because I'm like, we're on a text thread now. And we don't have, it's almost like what social media used to be. I think a lot of people, when they think of it, they want it to be like what it was in the early days, where we didn't have the public, we weren't doing all this performative stuff because that you have to realize today's social media is not designed for you. It's not designed to make your life better, to make you happier. It's actually designed to make you angry, feel insecure because it's like you said, it's hacking your brain. These algorithms are hacking our brains to spend more time with it so they can sell our attention to advertisers and make all these folks super filthy, disgustingly rich.
This is a true story, and I think that's like the undercurrent of the belly of the beast of why so many people want to get off. They feel this thing that's out of alignment with the life they want to live, with who they want to be, with how they want to engage and interact the world. It makes them feel terrible. They know they're addicted to the thing, and they want to get off. They don't know how. They've been told this massive lie from the marketing gurus that they have to be on social media in order to be relevant. It's all just bullshit. It's all just a bullshit lie that is not true. And so for you, when you left, it sounds like you weren't super reliant on it. But what have you found to be some of the strategies that you've leaned into? Everybody on my list knows that, like, I've been touring the signature workshop for the last several years. I've done 36. It's grown my list by about 6,000 plus people in 36 hours of teaching. And it's very easy, very scalable. And so now I teach people how to build a signature workshop and virtually tour it. So for you, what have been some of the go-to things that you've used to find new clients, to grow your business, and to get your work out of the world?
Bradley, at this moment in time, what's the one human where all of your attention is focused on right now?
You and me, right here.
That's what I remind people. If we want to play by the Silicon Valley game here of attention,
Yeah.
Bradley and I are giving our undivided attention to each other right now. That is so valuable. And in the parlance of the tech bros, it's not very scalable. But again, as I say, as a human, yes, that's what I learned in my sales training business. There's a lot of amazing tools and they get better all the time of how you can actually run a larger company, make more money with a lot less people and staff and a lot less stuff that you have to do, a lot fewer tasks. That's kind of the discovery I made. And you have to make it. It's always like how do you making these technologies work for you instead of you working for it. And that's why I never like social media. You're just constantly feeding this beast. You're like working for it. It's not working for you.
Yeah.
Even the people who are making a lot of money on it, they will also tell you on the side they're exhausted, they're on the verge of burnout. Some people have shut down their followings that they've built over several years just because they can't do it anymore. So I think some of the strategies back to like this idea of I want people to think about undivided attention again. That wow, it seems really sexy to have 2.5 million followers, but I'd rather have, if I'm running my business, I'd rather be focused on who are 25 really qualified people who I think are most aligned with what I'm offering, what I have to do, that I'm going to reach out to just every month. And probably only a slice of that I'm going to end up building a relationship with.
Yeah.
So this is really about the game instead of it's getting out of the game of quantity and getting back to the game of quality.
Amen.
And just as a quick example of that, I live in a town, North Adams, Massachusetts, that has had a lot of generational poverty. It's not known for tons of money here. And things are changing, though. A lot of really cool, optimistic things. A lot of people feel like myself have come here to build a lifestyle again because it's hard to do that in big cities anymore. But the first thing I did, because I took a break from my online business, Life Skills That Matter, And I started I'm like, how can I help this place? How can I get involved with economic development? I just made a list of anybody I thought was tangentially related to economic development. I ended up having like 60 people. And I contacted them all saying, this is who I am. I'd love to have a meeting with you and understand the opportunities and challenges you've dealt with economic development. And the majority of those people offered me a meeting, whether in person, virtual. And then without even asking, because this is that blows people mind because we think, but it's so forced now. One of my adages is in sales, you should attract, not convince. And people started throwing projects at me. I didn't even have to ask. And I said, this is what my rate is. And they paid it. And because they saw the value in it. So back to what you're saying, what works? It's focusing on attention, quality, and I call it direct outreach. It is sending the direct email, it is doing the direct phone call, sending a text message. I mentioned before I use LinkedIn as a research tool instead of DMing people on LinkedIn, which I think is a waste of time because I get so much crap through that. I try to find their email, who they are, where the company is, or some other way, and I reach out to them that way, because it kind of stands out. So I teach people who's the person most into what it is that you want to do? How do you find them? How do you build this lead list? What do you say to them in that first verbal communication or email? How and when do you follow up with them? And how do you start managing them over time? Because not everybody's ready to buy just because you need money right now. It's about managing that this community that you're building and what can you be doing for them? Not too much, but what are some of their challenges and what are some of the free things that you could be doing for them while they're waiting to figure out when or if they're going to buy from you?
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, my question that I asked when I deleted the accounts, because that was social media was my main strategy for growing my business for like years and years. I put
Wow,
it
so that was more dramatic than mine.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I put a decade into like daily posts multiple times a day, memes, videos, all the things. Like that was my strategy. And when I quit, I was like, okay, I've just been sold this idea that I need to have thousands of followers and fans following the work that I'm doing and post every little part of my life. Uh, how do I build my dream business and dream life with just a handful of relationships? Maybe two handfuls, like 10 partners that can support all the work that I'm here to do in the world. And so I've taken that same strategy. We have like a kids story company and audio. We do like the best audio stories. We built an app, and so our goal is through 12 to 20 strategic partnerships. That's how we'll reach millions of people. So we're at 7 partners now that are now rolling out in the coming months, and I feel like we're going to be able to reach hundreds of thousands of people just with these first 7 partners. And
There's
people
two
don't think
things I
about
want to
that.
build on there because I feel like there's a lesson, and I'd like to share something else I did,
Yeah.
even smaller pool of potential clients of how I built my previous sales training business. But I call it you have the gatekeeper strategy. It's building relationships with people who already have communities, larger audiences. Two
Yeah.
reasons why you're doing this, because especially if you're starting out or you're introducing something, you're moving into a different kind of niche or sector or industry. You're kind of like these other partners are loaning out their trust and their brand to you. And they're saying, I like this Bradley guy. I trust him. Here's what he does. And they send it out to their community. They're going to have so much more immediate interaction than
Yeah.
if Bradley tried to go do that all of his own, or it would cost a ton more money in advertising,
Way
right?
more money. And we're
So,
doing
so that,
also
so
a
that's,
licensing model. So there's a strategic partner part
yeah,
where we're bringing something that they don't have and they're bringing the audience. And so there's like this collaboration,
it's a
but there's
win-win for
also
everybody.
licensing. And I mean, I have a big meditation library that I produced years and years ago. I used to teach meditation and then I put it all online. And I mean, I've reached millions and millions of people with my meditations through licensing partnerships with a bunch of different meditation apps. And people don't think about like, how do I leverage the assets I've already spent years building and developing? And there's so many different ways and platforms, companies, institutions, organizations that are looking for exactly what people have made, and you can license, they build the audience, they pay you the money. It's just like, and you don't have to build a following. They do it for
Right.
you.
Exactly. Well, that's what you have to realize when you're on the individual human level of what it is that you're good at and where you want to spend your energy. And to your point, I mean, I have 15 years worth of content about how to build and develop life skills to build your business and career, right? And I'm at a point where like I don't even need to think about it. It's all there. I just
Yeah.
have to repackage it in a more meaningful ways to deliver it out to people. The point I also wanted to make on my previous business, I didn't even do I had technically had partnerships, but I only had really 50 potential clients to build my business that I made over $500,000 a year with.
Yeah.
And these were state broadcast associations who acted like these gatekeepers. They represented all the radio and television stations in all the 50 states in the United States. And I partnered with them. And then they did a big volume buy of the training that I have to offer, which is all online. And then they either gave it away for free or sold it directly to their members. And then the funny thing is, the other revenue stream that came about was as my training got out there throughout the country, then people contacted me to like for speaking gigs, for trainings, for workshops, so that blew it all up. But I think I call this the niche tribe model that when I'm looking, no matter, even if I have an opportunity I think is huge, I really like to find what's a niche of a related businesses or people, no more than 100, even if you can get it down a little bit more closer to the 50 level, and just start there. It just changes your mindset of how you're going to, and you have to, and also with sales is, it's still about keep getting it out. Don't wait for each and every one. You got to keep getting these direct emails out. But because all of a sudden as you get into these niches, they start to view you as understanding their needs and what they're all about. They actually almost feel like you're an honorary member of their tribe and that
Yeah.
they want to work with you. And that goes a long way. And most people are missing out on that. Everything's become so transactional
Yes.
because of social media. We've lost the human touch and people are craving it. And I think that is an advantage now in your business if you can find a way to do that.
And I think people have this unconscious, I know people have this unconscious belief about the outreach part of it, that they feel like they're asking the gatekeepers for a favor, but you're not. You're bringing value. You are solving one of their problems. You're adding something to what they're trying to offer to their audience. You're bringing something to the table and you're looking to find that equal exchange. You're not asking for a favor. It's totally different.
And I also say because so many times I get the emails and the direct messages. I'm sure get the emails, people trying to pitch you on things, and it sounds so artificial. Now people are using AI, and it's even worse. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
already our brains are starting to be like, this is garbage. You don't really care about, nothing about me.
Yeah.
And it's the emails that do come through for me. That's what I'm always when I want that when I'm sending out emails of did they really show that they know me and that they read something specifically or heard something specifically and that they're offering help in some way? If you in that opening email are trying to sell me on something or even just give me something right away, I don't trust you. And this is about I call it making friends. When you make friends, you kind of like have a connection with somebody. There's some interest, there's some vibe, there's just something you have. Like today, I really feel super connected because we have this shared interest around how you can build businesses about social media and when people think it's too good to be true. And when you do that, then it leads to a deeper conversation. People ask follow-up questions, want to know. And back to the way when I just emailed 60 people in my local area about economic development, it was just a conversation. And by the end of the conversation, like, I kind of want to work with you, or I have a project for you. I have somebody to introduce you for. I didn't even have to ask.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the beauty is like when you build a relationship with somebody, they naturally just want to engage with you and do more. And then your job is to deliver on the promise and do good work, but the sales become less of a sale, more of an invitation to collaborate and do something together.
And sometimes people ask, well, how do you do that? Like, how do you have a conversation? Then how does this eventually get to a sale? Well, first, I don't want you to think about the sale. I really want you to say, like, you are generally interested in whatever it is that you do. You're excited about it. People sense your passion. You then educate people on the problem that you're solving and how you're solving it. Ask them how they try to have it solved before. Just have that be genuinely interested. And then listen to see if they start asking you questions about how you work, how you do this. And that's where that there's that shift in the conversation. And sometimes it isn't. Sometimes they just aren't really that they like you, but they're not to you to that right now. So invite them to sign up for your email list. And that's something else people ask, well, how do you keep in touch with people? I use email. I won't even do Substack because I want my own platform. I want 100% control of everything. I mean, if TikTok is yet another lesson of the vulnerability when you were building your entire community audience and business on somebody else's platform and they could shut it down or change the terms at any time. That
Anytime.
is not a fun feeling.
No. No, you're at the mercy of a big tech company, which is not a good business strategy
Well,
long
you're like
term.
a suit. That's the funny thing. Everybody's looking for this independence, and I've worked for myself for 25 years. I never thought I would. I fell into it. I love it. But when you are building your business on these third-party platforms exclusively, you're making all your revenue off of that, and they can change the terms whenever they want. You don't have a say in it. It's not a true partnership.
Yeah.
And it seems easy because they're providing the platform, but you're almost like a pseudo employee. If your goal is to be truly independent, I besiege you. You don't want to build your business on a third party platform. You want to build it as independently as possible. And kind of the late 90s old fashioned way is doing direct outreach to build a quality community that will advocate for you and have you organically go viral.
Yeah.
If you're selling smaller dollar amount things, I will admit doing a direct outreach strategy is a little tougher. You might want to do a little bit more like what Bradley was saying is you want to build relationships with people of existing communities who can get the word out about you to their community.
Absolutely. So, with regards to community building, I mean, we've touched a lot about the direct outreach nurturing. Are there any specific tools that you have found to be really helpful aside from email to manage or that you work with on the day to day? There's so many tools, and I'm just always curious what people are using as far as the things that help them to operate and build their business.
I am, again, I'm a minimalist. I am so simple. I tell people, even after 25 years, the tool I use most commonly to this day are spreadsheets.
Beautiful.
Spreadsheets you can use in every part of your business. They're free, they're malleable, they're powerful. And I remind everybody, almost every app created originally started on a spreadsheet. So that's something else I want to say. Like a lot of this is fancy marketing wrapping paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also when everybody says, "Oh, there's the latest productivity tool," and a lot of there's so many things out there. I mean, I use Trello. I like it because it's visual, and I tell people when you're choosing technology, don't look at tech first. First, I have actually a worksheet for this saying like, what is it that I need? What's my problem? What are my preferences? How user friendly do I need this to be? How much do I want to pay? Who else is going to be using this with me? Kind of understand that information first. Have that as a filter, almost like an Instagram filter. So that when you go out into the internet and ask people for recommendations, you're like, here's my filter. This is what I'm looking for. Can you make a recommendation about a tool that is satisfying most of what I want?
Yeah.
So a lot of times, again, that kind of puts some interference into that manipulation and that marketing speech from all these fancy tool companies telling you why they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Know what you want first, and you choose the tool instead of other people choosing it for you necessarily. So Trello, Zoom. Now that I'm local again, I used to go to a lot of conferences. I always like to bring people together. Even when I would go to conferences, I would always reach out to attendees first and say, "Hey, I'm going to have this meetup before the conference, or a breakfast, or even afterwards, just to have an intimate conversation with like 10 to 20 people on my own before
Yeah.
I even got to the conference." So again, I'm radically focused on building those one-on relationships. So that's how I'm intimate. I don't believe in ego metrics. They're worthless to me. I purge my email list once a year. If you're not participating with the content in the past 6 months, I kick you off my list.
I do the
Like
same.
I'm never the person like I have like a jillion people. I'm like, no, you don't. You just haven't cleaned and purged your list ever.
It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. So to wrap up, if you were to assign a 30-day experiment for somebody who's sick and tired of social media, their strategy is not building their business in the ways that they had hoped or been sold that it would, What would the 30-day experiment be that you would assign them if they were to devote, say, 5 hours a week to one thing?
Oh, I'm even easier than that. If you cannot give up social media for 30 days and you feel like grabbing for your phone, going to your laptop, or feeling anxiety in your stomach, your head, or your chest, and you don't think you have a problem, it's time to talk to somebody. I don't care what it is, and you will feel it if you have not gone. Or if you're like, gasp, I could never just not use social media for 30 days. It's 30 days of your life. Why not? Why not find out what happens? I mean, that's what I always say with, and I love that you use the word experiment. I always tell people, Bradley and I are not telling you to do anything forever here. We're just asking you to do an experiment. I mean, why not? I will tell you one thing. You're going to learn a lot of stuff about yourself within 30 days. So that's step one. If just across the board, give up social media for 30 days, see what happens. See what happens with your relationships. Be very observational. See how you're feeling. But if you have a business and you're building your business right now, I would try to reach out to at least one person a day just during a 5 day work week. So that means it's 20 people over the course of a month. And I always tell people when they do this, I don't want to be impressed. It's like, oh, Steven, I can do better than that. I'm going to reach out to 200 people in the next 30 days. I'd rather you be consistent. I'm a big believer in taking consistent and perfect action. I'd rather have you reach out to a quality person every day and have it be a habit in your head than you trying to like impress me and thinks you're going to reach out to all these people. You can build up to that, but build the habit. Just like anybody wants to run a marathon, you have to like run around the block first.
Beautiful. That's one person a day. That's pretty easy. That's pretty doable. You could start by picking up the phone, going to your contacts, and just scrolling your contacts
I
and
don't.
reaching out to all the people you've forgotten you even know because
Oh
you're
my God.
so
You are
busy
like,
scrolling your wall looking at strangers.
you're my sales brother from another mother. That's the first step. We were like, what? How do I start my lead list? And I say that it's like, scan social media, scan your email contacts, scan your phone. And anybody who like all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, that they could help me or they would be perfect. You will probably end up with like 20 people like there pretty quickly. You'll be excited about it, right? And then they also kind of know you, there's a passion. So that gets you motivated in your brain. And then the next challenge is starting to reach out to people that you don't know at all. Or my other tip is as you meet every person, leave the conversation asking, is there one other person you can introduce me to that has this challenge or has this problem or could help in some way develop my business? Be specific because you want their brain has to scan their Rolodex up there, a little old school reference about who to ask. Don't say like, if you ever think of anybody that you can introduce me to, that's too broad. You're never going to hear it. Be specific.
Love it. And Steven, where is the best place for people to come engage with you and come engage with your work?
As you might imagine, I will not be telling you to follow me on anything, but you can go to lifeskillsthatmatter.com. Quick story. When I started this business, I was another in between step and I wanted to teach people how to start businesses. And it just popped into my head like universal, inspiration. I said, you know what I really want to teach? I want to teach people life skills that matter. And I went to a domain registration site, and I'm sure you've bought domains before. And the first domain, it's never available. And this was. So I was like, okay, universe, I'm going to teach life skills that matter. Like, this is my calling now. This is what I'm doing. And it's when you're teaching people a business, you say life skills, it seems so fluffy and such a throwaway. But now, because of all the toxicity of social media and AI, I can't tell you how many people, because I just said, this is what I want to do, Bradley. People are coming to me because they want me to bring me into their companies and their organizations to teach their employees life skills again because we're losing it. People are losing how to be self-aware, how to receive feedback, how to build relationships, everything we've been talking about today. It's a labor crisis that employers know they have. This is why they want everybody back in the office to feel like they can control them. But that's really not the answer either. That's a podcast for another time.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This is a really great conversation. I'm sure people are gonna take away a lot of inspiration and begin their 30-day social media cleanse and start reaching out to one person a day, which will eventually grow. And chances are, everybody, you already know you're already within the sphere of influence that you need in your life to have the business that you already aspire to have. You just need to take the time to pry yourself away from the social media so you can think clearly and straightly and do the thing that needs to get done to build those relationships.
I know we're running along on time. One,
Okay.
can I put you on the spot? One
Yeah.
question, because we didn't
Yeah.
do this, and somebody was like, we didn't know each other previously. Obviously, we're very aligned. Anybody who listened to this podcast, they'd be like, they didn't know each other before this, right?
Yeah.
How did you find me?
We are just researching topics. So Cora Lee, who is my assistant, we came up with a bunch of keywords that we were searching, and we found your website, and we saw that you didn't do social media. We're like, this looks like a fun conversation. She ran it by me. I was like, yeah, reach out to Steven. Let's do it.
Do you know why I accepted this podcast? I get a lot of requests to come on podcasts
Why is that?
because you said you didn't use social media.
Amazing. I thought it
So
was
again,
weird.
it's like go dig into people and see what their thing is that excites them. And if
Yeah.
you have that same connection, reach out. That's how you build relationships, people.
Yeah.
So
You
thank you
find
for
those
answering.
common points of interest, and then
Yeah,
you build from there.
absolutely. Thank you, man. I really
That's a
appreciate the
great way to
conversation.
finish. Way to go. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody go check out Steven's website, and I'll have that in the show notes and everything else. And stay awesome, everybody.